more specific, because I think Tony, you're exactly right. We need to sort of move to specifics to think about ways forward, tangible ways forward. And I feel like having you and Karen in the room at the same time is such a great opportunity to go back to your question in the beginning, which is not, I guess, almost can we transform our food environment, but what are some ways you can imagine us transforming our food environment? Give us a surveillance at the same time. Some examples you've seen, Karen, in your travels, or Tony in your work.
I just want to make sure I got the specific of your question. It is
Some examples of ways we can transform our food environment.
so we'll hear from Tony and then Charles, Karen.
Well, give you some specific examples. I mean, we can work at it at an individual level. I know I've transformed my food environment over the years, but it can also be done at another level. I think that's maybe a lot more efficient, and particularly, people who maybe don't have the benefit of educational resources or whatever benefits I've had that have maybe changed my environment. For instance, in schools, we take school food environments. We've seen just in very recent times, and it's spurred by some major health issues coming up in society, that ministries of education are very quickly decided to find out what's in school food environments. I've got feedback on that from questionnaires or surveys they've done, have been totally shocked by it. And in a number of cases have implemented sweeping new guidelines that our schools are now mandated to get rid of all this garbage in the schools. And these are the types of food products you can now have. And the other stuff, it should not be in the school, because we're modeling behaviors for students. And we're creating habits, and hopefully good habits. And I think this whole thing of habit, and those provinces would be places like Nova Scotia, Brunswick, and BC and so on. Ontario is lagging behind. I don't know, that's another question. But the whole thing of habits keeps coming back to me. How do we create positive habits in the population? So many of us have bad, unsustainable habits that have been nurtured in, we can talk about how they're nurtured, family, by corporations, by whatever. How do we change those into positive habits? I mean, I've got into water-saving habits. I started it off as a demonstration project for a class I was doing in the environment. I started saving grey water. I calculated last year for a class I'm saving like 12 to 15,000 liters of water a year. Wow, I added it up. I added it up again. I must be making a mistake on the calculator out. It's certainly over 10,000 liters a year. And just changed the way I deal with water. And I got into the habit of it. That was the interesting thing. After doing it for some months for this project, I just kept doing it. I've been doing it for 5 years now. So using gray water to flush toilets, things like that. Not using, or using pristine water. You want hot water coming out of the tap. Well, in my kitchen, you wait and you wait. And you've got 2 or 3 liters of good water coming out, but it's not hot. And then the hot water comes out. Every time you do that. Well, now I captured it. I have a jug here. As soon as I want hot water, put it under the tap. The jug fills up. I've got 2 or 3 liters. Put it over here. I got hot water. Okay. Then I take that jug to the bathroom, and it flushes the toilet. And so I go to that house. Once you do it, it's building habits. Same thing about getting to the university. I got into the habit of doing cycling. That was a long time ago, but I did winter cycling. Of course, that scares you, right? So you don't do that. But then I started to winter cycle, and now it's a habit. I don't know if it's the healthiest habit, but you can do it. Everyone here can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. It isn't always fun. It isn't always pleasant. It's a challenge, sometimes. But it's a habit. So how can we create sustainable habits? I think that's something we should think about, because if we can do that on a broad basis and an efficient basis, it's do that efficiently and broad scale is what we need to be doing. And me trying to convince students to do it is something, but I don't think it's the most efficient way to do it. So I think that's a really important way to go.
I'm just building your comments for a second and ask people to be honest with themselves. How many people have adopted a new environmental habit over the last 2 to 3 years, a good environmental habit?
I think we have.
Many of you have, and some of us have not. But it's the challenge that you're posing for all of us. It's a great
Yeah, I know, but
thing.
you know what I mean.
Karen, do you want to add to this question?
Yeah, just in terms of actual things that you do and measure and see. One thing in terms of food, sustainability of food, if you want to sustain local food, you have to sustain local farmers. If they can't make a living at it, then you can save all the farmland you want, but there's no one farming it. One thing that's really an interesting project in the Greater Toronto area is called Local Food Plus, where they have worked with the University of Toronto, they work with the City of Markham, they're working with the City of Toronto now, for those university or municipal institutions to purchase their food, to have a local food procurement policy. And so U of T, we have apparently 20,000 food transactions a day on this campus. We have more than 3 times that at the University of Toronto every day. So that's a lot of food. And the university agreed to that, and they bought a certain percentage of local food. So creating a solid market that is dependable, whether you can supply those greens to those cafeterias in U of T at the end of January is another issue. But at least there is an understanding that you've got to sustain the farmer and sustain the food.
Thank you. I'm going to direct the next question. Whatever the question is, you're getting it, David, okay? What's the question?
I started with quite a bit about is just like a big city. And, most recently, like the people who wrote the 1,000-Mile Diet also kind of cap at how big a city should be. And I was just wondering, actually, I wanted to put it to everybody in the panel, but whoever wants to answer it. If you could pull the lever and limit the size of the city, how big would it be?
We'll start. It's probably a pretty good question for an engineer.
From the engineering point of view, sort of wondered about that for a long time, and one thing that kept coming back to me is sort of one of the things Frank Lloyd Wright was famous for was this concept he came up with broadacre, which looked an awful lot like a typical suburb does now, even more so the exurbs. One difference was that space around each house, though, was used to grow food and so forth. And I have a feeling, in terms of city size, it's going to be more population density. So what's the ideal population density to have? And like a lot of things, I think it's a balance. My hunch is it's going to fall somewhere between not as dense as somewhere like New York. We're going to be spread out enough that we can provide a lot of our own needs, sort of functional needs like water and energy and so forth, from the area right around us. But not so far out that we don't have other people around us, because we just socially, people don't do well in isolation. I mean, that's one of the main reasons everyone cites for leaving the farm in places like Saskatchewan and Nebraska and so forth. You go to the city and there's other people. So my hunch is it's a balance. And I'm not sure exactly where it falls. I mean, that's a good research question.